Chapter 2. The Daleks barely noticed me as I lay trapped under the rubble. They were more preoccupied with searching for him. I desperately looked up at the sky, hoping to see if the stories of a mysterious blue box materializing out of the thin air were true. I tried slowly to pull myself free. I could feel the rubble scraping over my legs, the stings of stone dust in the cuts and grazes. Slowly crawling forward on my elbows now, I managed to drag myself clear and around the edge of the rubble, out of the line of sight of the Dalek patrols. Breathing heavily, I did my best to wipe the blood and dirt away from my wounds. Trying to stand, an immense pain coursed through my left leg, and for one moment I thought I'd been spotted and shot. I propped myself back up against the remains of the wall of the tower and pulled my knee up towards me to check my leg for an entry wound. A previous encounter with a stray arrow when out hunting with friends had given me an experience of knowing what it looked like. But the sight that greeted me turned my stomach even more. Apart from a few cuts and bruises, my leg was fine until just below the knee. From there on, it just looked impossible. A bone poked out through the skin, and my foot was facing in the opposite direction that it should have been. I had to clasp my hand over my mouth. Whether it was because I felt like I was going to scream or be sick, I don't know. But no matter what my physical situation was, I knew my goal was the same. I had to get out of the square. I had to be the only person left in town, so there was no point in me staying. With the doctor to occupy the Daleks, they weren't going to worry about me. With my leg broken, I would have no choice but to rely on my arms and remaining leg to get me away. But working with that in my favour, if I moved slowly, staying low, I could play dead if any of the patrols came near me, or at least make it back to the outskirts before deciding my next move. With the Daleks now looking for the doctor, the patrols had doubled, if not tripled. It felt like every inch I dragged myself would be my last. I might have only had one functioning leg, but at that moment I was glad I didn't have two beating hearts instead. After waiting for a patrol to pass and overlook me as just another corpse, I glanced up at the town walls, or what was left of them. Beyond them I could see the hills of the valleys rising up like a dark wave. Another few minutes and I'd be there. The pain in my legs was immense. I'm pretty sure I had a couple of broken or cracked ribs too, as it was becoming harder and harder to breathe. But I kept going. Only 10 feet from the walls now. Even in all this desolation, I felt elated. There might be just as much destruction out there, but my chances of survival, even with my injuries, would be better than where I was at the moment. 5 feet. My lungs burst, and my leg felt like it was going to be ripped from my knee. Nearby flames scorched my face and singed my hair. I closed my eyes to shield them from the flames. Just 3 more feet, and I'd be there. I couldn't help but laugh. Few were ever left after the Daleks invaded. And again, as guilty as I feel now, at the time I was glad it was me. I reached a hand forward to feel the soft brush of grass against my palm. For a brief moment, I could indulge, pretend I was lying in the grass with my friends on a warm summer's afternoon. But the sensation that greeted my bloodied palm sent shivers through every bone in my body. Even in the heat of the flames surrounding me, the feel of metal was unmistakable, as cold and emotionless as the creature that occupied it.
Humanoid located. Life signs deteriorating.
I raised my eyes and stared up at the huge bronze machine standing in front of me. The blue light of the eye stalk lowered towards my face. The tears in my eyes reflected the light around my vision. It felt like hundreds of Daleks were surrounding me, but it wouldn't have mattered if there were 1,000,000. One Dalek. And that's all it would take. Oh God. Please. Don't kill me. Just let me go. Looking back on it now, trying to reason with a Dalek was like trying to get blood out of a very angry, very narrow-minded stone. You need someone to tell everyone what happened here. Spare me, and I'll tell everyone what you did here. Even without a face to show emotion, I could sense the disgust in the Dalek's tone.
Daleks do not spare anyone. Our actions are our legacy. Daleks will soon be the masters of time and universe.
So many times that day I thought I was going to die. But let me tell you, when you're face to face with a Dalek, and you know there's no way out. Everyone I knew was dead. The gods had forsaken me. For a brief moment, it felt like even the doctor couldn't save me. Then I heard it. That groaning, wheezing sound. That sound that brings hope to anyone that hears it.
Alert, alert, the doctor is approaching. All Dalek units to Sector 4.
Then suddenly a huge gust of wind threw me onto my back. The Dalek screeched its harsh cry as it flew over the top of me towards the rubble and flames on the opposite side of the square. I felt a shadow wash over me, and looking up, my vision, though blurred, was filled with that hopefully vast blue, cut with a white haze as a mythical box appeared, flying through the air. As quickly as it had appeared, it had gone. But I knew I was safe. That great man, the man who would cross entire battlefields to save one person, and he'd come to save me. Glancing over to the ruins of the tower, that strange blue box had materialized amidst the rubble, and there he was. He looked almost out of place in his khaki waistcoat, brown trousers with boots and gaiters, covered in a dark green, slightly tattered coat. The whole ensemble was offset by a rough blue necktie that looked like it had seen better days, and an old bandolier. From the latter he plucked some strange instrument and began waving it around over the bell from the tower, ignoring the dying Dalek near him screaming for help. My vision started to fade, and before I lost consciousness, I saw a face looking down at me. A young face, clean-shaven, with a slightly matted mop of dark hair. He didn't look anything like I'd heard of him in the stories, but I knew it was him. "Doctor, please, help me." He looked forlornly at me, his eyes filled with guilt, but guilt of an action yet to come. "Please, don't call me that." And that's the last thing I remember. I woke up on board a freighter, a makeshift field hospital for those found alive in the local system. Races who had been enemies for hundreds of years, now working together and helping each other. This is what the Doctor does. This is how he helps people. Or at least that's what I thought at the time. I wouldn't see him again for another 10 years. But when I did, and now that I know the full story, I wish the Daleks had killed me. I'd have been better off.